How you guys doing out there in YouTube land? I'm putting this video out, and I'll be doing this video every 2 weeks. More of a question and answer type video. If I have a lot of people asking me questions on YouTube, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer them with the YouTube. So here we go with some questions. 2013, and these are all from YouTube, my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe up top somewhere. All right. Here's one question: how much do I weigh in the off season? My weight actually fluctuates in the off season. Right now, the heaviest I've been is about 240, and I was eating the world. I was eating a lot. And just to clarify something real quick about people ask, I've seen people post, I've posted it, but it was referring to a question that somebody asked me. A lot of people question about how many calories, how many amounts of protein that I've taken in, and somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500. And do I do it every day? Hell no. And I'm going to clarify it right now, and I've clarified it many times, but I guess everybody kind of blocks it out, so here it is again. The way I did it, and it wasn't every single day. I wanted to experiment and see how much, what was going to actually be used in my body, and as far as like fat, because everybody's going to be different. There's always a set boundary, an average boundary of what a person can consume and how much protein can be absorbed and so forth. Everybody is going to be different. There's always, like I said, there's a set standard, scientific data of this and that and whatever else, science, but every person is going to be different, the way they utilize their proteins, their carbs, and their fats. So like with myself, what I did was, say it was on Monday. Monday, I would have about normal 300 grams of protein. Tuesday, the same thing. Wednesday, actually, I would bump it up to about 500-600, and that's Wednesday. Thursday, I bring it back down to about 200-300. Thursday, the same thing. Friday, I bump it right back up. Saturday, I would actually bump it back up to about 5, maybe like 100 grams more, probably like about 600. And then Sunday, Monday, bring it back down again. The following week, Tuesday, I would bump it up to 700, bring it back down. That's only for one day. Here you have Wednesday and Thursday, I bring it back down. On Friday, I would actually bump it up to about 800-900 for one day, bring it back down, let my body get used to what's going on. Probably like about on a Sunday, that's when I would jack it up to about 1,000 grams, 1,200 grams of protein, and that's including my branched chain amino acids and all this certain types of food. Basically, it's for one day. It's not day after day after day after day, which people assume, but it wasn't day after day. So basically, it's it's one day, skip 4 days, one day, skip 5 days, one day, skip 8 days. So, excuse me, but that's the way I did it. It wasn't every single day. But as far as like the protein, how much do I weigh in the off season? Sorry to get off the topic. It was off season. Right now, I'm about 230 in the off season. Usually, I'm like 210, 215 around there. But right now, I'm sitting at 230. I'll get up to probably about 240 until I start dieting. So I'm feeling pretty warm right now. I don't have to worry about getting cold or chilly because I got some fat insulation, so it's helping me out. The next question: how big are my arms? My arms are like 18 pumped. They're about 19 and a half maybe, but they're about 18 and a quarter, right around there. My arms aren't that big. Everybody knows bodybuilding is an illusion. So if my joints are small and you're conditioned, your arms are going to look bigger. The next question: what's my take on lower volume training? Everybody's going to have their certain type of training techniques and the way they train, lower volume, higher reps, lower reps, higher sets. It does, it's my take on it. If it works for you, then use it. And if it's called bro science, it's called bro science. I don't give a shit. Back when I was first started competing, there was no bro science. So, things are changing. But as far as like lower volume training, something I don't do, mine is higher reps, higher volume. That's the way my body works. I've tried DC training. I've tried the powerlifting stuff. But every time I do it, I end up getting hurt. I still have proper technique, proper form. It's just my body wasn't meant to do those type of exercises, those type of lifts. So I go back to what works for me. Okay. How is it training? Here's another question. How is it training with 3DMJ? And talking with Alberto, at the Natural Olympia in Reno, after that, we've talked, had discussions and where we would go. And we haven't started training. We haven't started, as far as like prep or nothing yet. That won't start until a little bit later on. So, he's kind of letting me kind of relax a little bit because he knows I have softball with my daughter. And, usually that ends up about, we end about, in July, for All-Star season. So we end about in July. So we don't really get into contest prep too much. Okay. But I can tell you right now, I'm pretty excited, as far as like, I don't know what's going to happen with all the macros and all this stuff. And, I couldn't tell you, but he knows, he has my take on it. I put my trust in him, and with them. And so, whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do. I see the type of conditioning and the people that they bring into shows. And, I'm not afraid to learn something. I'm old school. Everybody knows I'm old school. But, times are changing, things change. You have to change with the times. And this is not the 70s and 80s anymore. It's not even the 90s anymore. So, things are changing, progressively getting better. Supplements are getting better. Training's getting better. Contests, all these things are getting so much better. So I have to be able to keep up with the times. And, this is my last year competing. So I'm going to put all my eggs in the basket and see what happens. When do I start prep for the Natural O? Well, with 3DMJ, our prep starts in May. So I'm going to be dieting from May all the way up until November. But I can tell you now, probably like May, June, it won't be too hard. It'll just be getting into it. But, from all the way, we're going to be dieting from May, June, July, all the way to November, because the Natural Olympia is in November. That's how long it's going to take for me to diet. So that's a timeline that, we've talked about and we're going to stick to. So the next question, what are my thoughts? And I know this has been circulating around. What are my thoughts on having the Natural Olympia in San Diego? I'm excited. At first, I was kind of like, I don't know if we should have it. But, it depends on, I always think about the spectators first and the athletes. And for me, having the show in San Diego, I believe it's going to bring a lot more spectators, which is really, really good for the competitors, the fan base, the vendors. You have so many communities around this area. You have, of course, it's in San Diego. You have Riverside, Orange County, LA, Las Vegas, Northern California, San Francisco. It's not that far from, up there. And at the same time, it is warm in November. So, that also helps. I know competitors don't like being in the cold. And especially, in Reno. It's not talking nothing bad about Reno. It was a great venue. But the only thing missing were the spectators. I mean, it's, they still had spectators coming in, but for that big of a type of a show, the more spectators that come in, it gets everybody pumped up even more. And I think this, with it being in San Diego, and I really, really believe that it's going to draw a lot more spectators in. But I'm pretty excited about, especially being in my backyard. And I know some people have put out, say, it should be in Vegas. But in my belief, I don't believe so. Just because of the fact that there's other shows going on around that time, or if that time, in that time. And I just don't, I don't feel like, if we're going to be competing against, different organizations. So I believe, San Diego is a very, very good place, and you're steps away from 5 minutes from the beach, maybe 20 steps away from one of the nicest shopping malls in San Diego, Fashion Valley, 5 minutes away from SeaWorld, 5 minutes away from downtown. It's restaurants are right in the backyard. So it's it's gonna be nice, and so we'll see what happens. I'm really hoping that the Natural Olympia does land in San Diego. Another question: in my training, do I always incorporate drop sets? 95% of the time, I incorporate drop sets. I go to failure just about every time. That's something, like I said, it's bro science. That's something that works for me, so I'm gonna continue to do it. If I do a lot of instinctive training, so during my time I show up at the gym, if I feel like if I'm dragging ass that day, and if I'm tired, I'm not going to go in there and try to lift the world. I change up my training. Same thing. If I'm lagging, then I'll go reps instead of heavy weight, moderate weight. I'll learn how to really get that mind muscle, the connection, really squeeze that muscle, just work that muscle with lower reps. But I'll still do a drop set, but just with a lot lighter weight. But if I'm feeling good that day and I'm feeling it, then the heavy weight goes on, then we're just going to drop from there. And then come back and try to go a little bit heavier and drop from there again. Come back on the next set, go a little bit heavier, and drop from there. A lot of people don't realize, if you put 2.5 pounds on something, it makes a big difference. That's just muscle that you're going to be gaining, as strength. That's strength training. You're getting stronger. Whether it's 2.5 pounds, you can't be a little pussy and say, oh yeah, this is 5-10 pounds. Who cares? It's 2.5 pounds. It's heavier than what you did last time. So go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid to put on a 2.5 or a 5. You don't have to put on a 25 or a 45 every single time. Be smart about your training. Another question, and I know this one, a lot of people have always asked, why don't I compete at the Orton Cup? I can tell you now, the reason why I don't compete at the Orton Cup, and you can't say it's about the money, it's really not, but it's going to sound like it. I've watched the IFPA grow in the last 3 years, and the amount of spectators that comes to their shows, the amount of athletes they get, at the Orton Cup, you have about 15 to 20 per class, and you have a lightweight, middleweight, and a heavyweight class. You have 15 to 20 per class, and that includes the men. That includes figure, women's bodybuilding, and so forth. And then most of the times, you also, I haven't seen one show yet. Even the Orton Cup has an amateur show running with it. So you have all these competitors. You have a lot of vendors, a lot of sponsors helping you out at the Orton Cup. And I've seen something that doesn't really, click in my head. And it's nothing bad about the IFPA. I don't talk nothing bad, because, every organization is going to be different the way they run things. I'm not saying every organization is perfect. The one I compete in is not perfect. But, if you're going to claim that you're doing this for the athletes, then you have to show the athletes that you are doing it for them. If you're having a prize money, one of your biggest championships, the Orton Cup, and you're only giving out $3,000 prize money, or $35, I think my first year I saw it was like 2009, it was like $3,000, and it went up to $3,500, back down to $3,100 or something around there, but it always hovers around $3,000, and that's first place, second place, whatever it is. I mean, per class it's like 1,000 or something like that. 500 and 250, first, second, third. To me, for the amount of time, the athletes that put in it, it's anybody, myself, Cleveland Thomas, Philip Ricardo, you have all these top pros are busting their ass. If it wasn't for the athletes, it wasn't for the fans, it wasn't for the spectators, there would be no IFPA, there would be no PNBA, there would be no INBA. So if there wasn't for the athletes, you wouldn't have an organization. So you really need to learn how to take care of these athletes by giving them $3,000 and they're busting their ass traveling across country, putting their own money at stake. And, it can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 just to get to somewhere with the food. It's not including the food and taxis and accommodations and everything else. All that adds up. So, and one thing I've seen in the PNBA that gets me really excited, and actually I came back to the PNBA was, in the Natural Olympia in Australia, the prize money was $5,000. I mean, that's a lot more than the Yorton Cup has ever been, and that was in 2009. 2010, it went up. It went up to $2,500, $7,500, and then when they announced the money that they were giving away, at that time, me and Rico were competing. Rico looked at me like, he was like, holy shit. I didn't know they were giving away this much money. The following year, they gave away a car or $10,000. So, I mean, $3,000, $10,000. You make the decision. And here you are last year, they gave away another card or $11,000. Here's the decision, $3,000, $11,000. So I had to make a business choice I had to make a smart business choice that, that made sense for me. If I'm putting money out, I want to at least have something to come in or, that I could work with. But if I'm barely breaking even, it doesn't make sense. That's not a good business decision. And I'm not saying that I'm making a living off of natural bodybuilding. No, I'm not. But, can you? Yes, you can. It's been proven. Lane Norton, look at him. He does contest prep. Look at the stuff that he does for bodybuilding.com, everything. The last time I see, he was an MC for, I'm not sure if it was the Olympia or the Arnold, but I mean, come on, this is Lane Norton making money off of natural bodybuilding, and he's a good bodybuilder, but he's not one of the best. He's very, very good, but he's not one of the best, but he's the best at what he does. And that's with, taking care of his athletes, contest prep, being MC, being involved in the community, being involved in bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding. So you have a lot of guys like this that are making money from natural bodybuilding. And, if they can collect a check along the way while competing, that's a bonus for them. And that's the same thing that I do. This is a business for me, just like with Cleveland Thomas. I've heard Cleveland Thomas talk about it. This is a business for him. And it's not like, we do have other jobs beside this, but this is part of our job. You can call it a part-time job, part-time hobby. I call it a part-time job. So, you're still making money from it. And the INBA is actually taking care of me very, very, very well. Guest posing appearances in Australia, Greece, Japan. I've gone all over the country. So at the same time, if it wasn't for the INBA, I wouldn't have had my very, very first sponsor back in 1998, which was Max Muscle Corporate back then. And, I wouldn't have my sponsor that I do right now with Generate with Anthony Almada, if it wasn't for the INBA. They helped me get all these sponsors. So, they've done a lot to help the athletes. They've always done a lot to help the athletes. This previous, I think it was this previous Natural Olympia, there was like 2 or 3 people, I think 2 or 3 people that actually came out of the Natural Olympia with sponsorships, with supplement companies. So, and I still see, Cleveland Thomas, he's won that damn Yorton Cup, twice already? Shit. And he doesn't even have a top name sponsor. I mean, this is an organization that should be helping him out. And I'm not saying nothing bad about the organizations, don't get me wrong, but something needs to be changed. These athletes are busting their ass, all these women, all these men that, need to be taken care of, and then they need help in something. But I don't see nobody helping them, along the ways as far as, getting a sponsorship or, sometimes, yeah, it has to do with marketability. But if you're not pushing that person to help you out, if you're not pushing a company to help, their athletes out, then, sooner or later, them athletes are going to leave. And, it's, if you haven't seen the Natural Olympia, and I'm not saying, it's a 3-day event. Make sure you come check it out, or, any way you can, take a trip down to San Diego. It's a nice little trip. It's going to be warm around that time, so come check it out. If not, compete. I know this year there's going to be a lot of competitors. Cleveland's actually, I saw somewhere he threw his name in the hat. He said that last year too. So, but I'm not putting no money on it. But I know Philip will be there. I know that. Even if he told me he wasn't going to be there, I still wouldn't believe him anyways. Because you know, Philip's a great competitor and a great friend of mine, so I know he's going to be there. You know, you have your Justin Figuera. One name I've heard about that might be doing the Natural Olympia is Donovan Strong, which is very, very good because, you know, that's a big guy, and the INBA does like big people, you know, so that carry a lot of muscle. So, you know, make sure you check it out. Like I said, you know, the INBA does hold a first-class show. It's a 3-day event. Every person that has come to the Natural Olympia from different organizations, they say the same thing. They're like, wow, why can't our world championships be like this? You know, they take care of their athletes, their professionals from day one. When you check in, you get your packet, your goodie bag. You know, that night you usually have a VIP mixer. All athletes can come, you know, get along, meet the judges, meet the members, meet the president, vice president, you know, everybody. You know, it's a family-run organization. You know, the next 2 days, usually it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, is a lot of, you know, it's Fridays amateurs, Saturdays professionals. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Saturday, they usually they always hold a brunch for the athletes and everybody else, for the families. So it's not just a one-day event. Here's your trophy, here's your check, or your envelope. Here, take a, you know, you did a good job, first place, got your little medal. That's it. Go home. You know, at the Natural Olympia, you know, from day one, you get, if you're a professional, even if you're an amateur, you get treated with respect along the whole way. If you're a professional, you get treated a little bit better. So, you know, you have, you know, autograph signings. You know, they really help you out there. They put your name out there. You know, so it's not just a one-day event. It's a whole weekend. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. I know Mike Newman, John Bosch, they talk about it a lot on, you know, on their podcast. So make sure you check it out. I believe that's all the questions that I have time for right now. And make sure Moody Athletics is just about done. Something I could give you a little peek. If you look at my jacket right here, it's a camouflage type jacket. These are the jackets that we're actually going to have on the website. If you go to moodyathletics.com, they'll probably be out, I'm hoping, next week. Also, you'll see pictures, photos, personal training services, etc., etc. So make sure you check it out. Make sure you subscribe up top, somewhere up top. I don't know where it's at. Make sure you subscribe. I can get some more videos out there. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do have any questions, make sure you comment, post it on the YouTube channel, whatever questions you have, and I'll try to get to them as much as I can, okay? All right, check you guys out.